Today is February 12th, 2025. Welcome to the Checking from Behind podcast. I'm your host, Zach, joined as always by my co-host, Preston.
How we doing?
I'm good. The NHL, oh my God, the Four Nations tournament has started. Do you have the game in the background right there?
I do have the game in the background. They just dropped the puck for the second period.
What it is, 2-0 at the moment, right?
Yeah, Sweden's kind of being dominated by Canada right
Dude,
now. If you watched our last video, they're making me look like idiots right now for picking them
Come
to
on,
come in second
baby.
place. Hey, you know what? Still a lot of hockey left.
Yeah,
Hard to
of
play worse
course.
than they did in the first. They're lucky the score's only 2-0, honestly.
Were they? I wasn't able to watch the first period at all. Was it that bad? Like, were they getting? I mean,
They had no possession. Like, they were
Fair.
getting, every time Canada was just not letting them enter the zone, and every time they did, they cleared the puck immediately.
Canada.
It's not that Canada had a ton of crazy possession either, but they had good scoring chances, and you let them have a power play, and you can't let the Canadian team have a power play. Their first goal, this sentence should be an illegal sentence to say. Nathan McKinnon from Sidney Crosby and Connor McDavid.
10 seconds.
Connor McDavid's got to be hyped because this is his first time ever getting to play like with the big boys on a team Canada national team. It might be McKinnon's first as well, and they get to play with Sidney Crosby and like the best of the best from Canada. It's going to be fun to watch. There's going to be a fun week and a half.
I'm excited for it. And there's a crazy stat that Elliot Friedman dropped and that's been going around the NHL media. When Team Canada has Sidney Crosby as their captain, I think they've won the last 16 or 20 straight games.
I think it was like 25 games.
Yeah,
they were saying it on the broadcast.
Like
the last time they lost a game with Sidney Crosby in the Team Canada jersey was in the 2010 Olympics against Team USA in like the preliminary round. It wasn't even like a medal game because obviously they won the gold medal that year. He scored the golden goal on that. I remember that. You were probably a little too young for that. I remember watching that.
I don't remember where I was or like anything with that same exact goal, but I remember watching the 2010 Olympics and then Sochi 2014. She goes like 8 for 9 in a shootout.
Ryan Miller that year for Team USA might have had the best goaltending performance in Olympic history.
2014?
2010.
2010, okay.
Literally, he was the only reason why Team USA was even in the gold medal game. He won MVP of the Olympics. I think he's one of the few players to ever win MVP in the Olympics and not be on the gold winning team. Historic tournament for Ryan Miller. That kind of cemented his legacy. He also won the Vezina Trophy that year, so that was the best year of his career.
That was I pretty sure the gold medal game with the golden goal in 2010. Wasn't that like a 2-1 game?
Yeah, overtime.
Yeah. That
was honestly kind of a weak goal that Miller let in. It was just 5 holes straight in the ice. I think it just caught him off guard.
Sometimes those just get past goaltenders, and Miller was never really that good with his 5-hole either. He was good everywhere else, but you could find the weak spot.
It was just a sneaky shot though. Like I think he wasn't expecting it. Like I think Crosby kind of released it a little earlier, and it went right through a 5-hole. Yeah.
Yeah, and the rest is history. It's one of the greatest goals of at least
in hockey history, I would say.
In hockey history.
Yeah, it's up there with one of the best.
The international play, I'm excited for the NHL, especially us now that we actually are fully in. Like we cover the hockey, we talk news, we are content creators and everything. And it was just announced today that the NHL is going to be bringing back the World Cup in 2028. There's going to be 8 teams, and it is confirmed there will not be a Team North America or a Team Europe, which means they will be going with 8 strict countries. I'm assuming it's going to be U.S., Canada, Finland, Sweden. You're probably going to end up throwing Germany in there. We were talking before the recording, somehow throw Swiss and Czech in there. And, of course, Russia's going to be in there, no doubt about it.
I mean, I don't know how you could do this 8-team tournament and, you're not having a Team Europe or a Team North America. Russia's probably going to be in the tournament. That makes sense to me. I don't know how you would do that tournament without them. There's too many Russian players in the NHL.
Somebody ended up doing a mock-up of a Four Nations team. If it was just Russian players, that team is disgusting. It's good. Their goaltending would stack up with the USA's goaltending if they were in this tournament. They would have the option from Vasilevsky, Bobrovsky, Shesterkin, and Sorokin. I'm sorry if I missed one or two. If you know off the top of your head, go for it. But then, like, US has Ottinger, Swayman, and Hellebuck. So That would be something that I would look forward to, and I'm
This might
excited
be the
for.
last chance to see Ovi in an international tournament as well. I think he's only going to play one more year, so we'll see if Russia's going to be allowed at the Olympics next year. Like I understand like the political world and like ramifications that are preventing them from participating in international play, and I'm not going to get into that, but I'd like to see Ovi play in the Olympics next year.
Yeah, if Russia is not allowed in the Olympics, unfortunately, we know that we're not going to see Ovechkin play in the 2028 World Cup.
I'd be shocked if he. I don't even know if Sidney Crosby's going to be playing that, but
I don't know.
Ovi, I
I think
definitely. There's no way Ovi's in the NHL in 2028.
no,
No way.
he's breaking the goal record, then he's done. IMO.
I mean, this year might be the best chance for him to win a cup, one more cup before he retires.
I mean, that Capitals team is absolutely gross. I don't know what they're gonna do with the deadline. We'll see. We'll see what happens with
I don't think
that.
they really can do much. I don't think they have any cap space.
No, they
but
don't have a ton of cap space. I mean, they can make stuff work, but at the
We'll see.
same time, like they don't mess anything up, right? Through the
Mhm.
caps. So I want us, because of the little Four Nations break, I want us to react to our preseason takes. I know about a month ago or so, a little bit, I think like 5 weeks ago, we did like our mid-season award picks. No, we're not doing that now. We are going back to when we did an episode with Nordic. He came on this podcast right before the season started to do preseason picks. I just realized we never did the Norris Trophy. So if you guys noticed that the Norris Trophy isn't in there, that's why. I
Did
know.
we just forget?
Really weird. We must have forgotten. I don't know, but
Okay.
I went through and there's no Norris Trophy.
I mean, I know who I would have picked. I would have picked Cale McCarr.
I would have picked either McCarr or Hughes, one of the two,
Yeah.
depending on how frisky I'm feeling that day. So
Yeah,
do
man,
you
ooh, tough choice.
do you want me to go first, or do you want to go first with each one?
I guess I'll go first. So
Okay.
the first award we decided on. We also, this is the beginning of the year too. We wanted to make it a little bit more interesting. So for the Hart Trophy, we made our predictions just for making a different decision. We probably should have thrown a third player in this as well, but we were not allowed to pick McDavid or Austin Matthews to win MVP. Probably should have thrown Nathan McKinnon in there as well, because he won it last year. But I picked Nathan McKinnon because I'm not an idiot. And Zach had it was looking like a good pick at the beginning of the year. He ran into some injury issues, but Zach picked Kirill Kaprizov. Like I said, at the beginning of the year, he looked legit. Like I was like, Zach, are you a genius? Like, damn. And then there's no way he wins it now.
Shout out my dog, Jimmy, who's been on this pod a few times. Me and him have been on the Kaprizov and Wild Wagon the entire season. And I'm convinced that if Kaprizov hasn't gotten hurt at all, that he would still be keeping up with guys like McKinnon and Leon Draisaitl in the.
Oh yeah, no, he was carrying that. I think he was like the definition of an MVP. Before he got hurt. Yeah, but he's just missed so many games. There's no possible way he even get back in the conversation.
He would be missing. I'm pretty sure he'd be missing like 30 games by the time the season's over if he comes back by the deadline. So that's clearly too many games missed in order to even have a sniff at winning the Hart Trophy. So it was looking good at first 2 months, and since then, no. Nathan McKinnon, I feel like, is a safe pick. It's either going to be him or Leon Draisaitl this year to win it. So
yeah,
you're looking good with that McKinnon pick. And then with the Rocket, we had some very interesting picks here. I believe this one we excluded Austin Matthews because, again, we wanted to make things interesting. Austin Matthews isn't going to win it this year anyways because of just missing so much time. I picked David Pastrnak, and Preston picked Philip Forsberg. That Forsberg one, I was talking to you a little bit about before we recorded, was a little bit interesting. At the time, though, you said that it made sense.
Well, this is before we knew we thought the Predators were going to be really good this year. Everyone was pretty high on the Predators. I think we all picked them to make the playoffs. And for people forget that Forsberg had 48 goals last year, and they just added Jonathan Marchessault and Steven Stamkos. So anyone's thinking is like he's only going to get more opportunities to score now. And in fact, it's been the opposite. I mean, he has 21 goals this year, so he's not having a terrible season. But compared to last year, he's been awful.
Yeah, I didn't hate it at the time. I wasn't like calling you an absolute idiot for picking him because at the time it didn't make sense. He was your dark horse to win it, and with the baseline guidelines that we went with during the episode, we're like, screw it, go Forsberg. I went David Pastrnak strictly because I thought that with him being a perennial 40 goal scorer, I thought, did he hit 50 goals last year?
Let me check.
I think he might have hit 50 goals last year. If not, he was like really, really close to it.
He had 47, and
Okay.
Forsberg had one more goal than him
Okay.
last
See,
year.
so our picks are not too far fetched. And right now it's going to be Leon Draisaitl. I would be shocked if he hits anything less than 55 goals. I mean, looking back at it, probably should have picked a guy like Leon Draisaitl when you're playing with Connor McDavid because Draisaitl has shown us to put up 50-plus goals. But then again, like I thought Pastrnak was going to be able to pot 50 to 55 goals this season. Unfortunately, has not.
Yeah,
The
no, scoring's been kind of interesting this year. I mean, last year had some weird guys in the top, like Zach Hyman scored over 50 goals last year, which is kind of crazy.
mhm.
This year seems to have calmed down and more. Obviously, Austin Matthews missing a lot of time changes that conversation a lot because I think a healthy Austin Matthews, like you can argue he can win the Rocket every single year.
If he plays 75 to 82 games a season, he's winning the Rocket
hmm
7 times
Nine
out of
times out
10.
of yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I,
agree with
I,
you.
I I was gonna say 9 times out of 10, but I was like, I don't know, that feels like a little bit too much. So I'll give a little bit of leeway. With the Calder Trophy, I went Logan Stankoven, Preston with Max Celebrini. Celebrini is looking like he's one of the three favorites right now. Stankoven kind of doesn't look like he's gonna end up really sniffing the Calder Trophy. I looked at it from the baseline of Stankoven of he played 25 games in a regular season last season. He looked really good down the stretch for Dallas going
He was
into
good
the
in the
playoffs.
playoffs
He
too.
was
Yeah.
good in the playoffs, and I thought maybe that he can continue it into this season. And unfortunately, he has not. I mean, I'm not saying that he's been bad by any means. He's been good, most definitely for Dallas, but he just hasn't had as big of a role as I thought he would. He's playing more third line minutes, and I don't even know if he's playing on the power play. That'd be something I have to look into. But Stankoven overall, he's having a good season, just not a Calder caliber season like your guy Celebrini that you picked.
Yeah, some of these awards I kind of went with like no brainers. Like, okay, I'm just gonna be logical because typically every year the number one overall pick from the draft is usually one of the top contenders to
Mm-hmm.
win Rookie of the Year. And I know going into the beginning of the season, a lot of people were thinking, oh, it's gonna be either Celebrini or Michkov. And then Lane Hudson said, oh, what about me? Don't forget about me. And honestly, he might be the favorite to win right now, just because he has 41 points, which is leading for rookies, but he's doing it as a defenseman, which I think makes it a little bit more impressive.
Yeah, late.
And Celebrini is on a really bad team as well. Montreal's a bit better than San Jose. I mean, Celebrini's been really, really, really good this year. Honestly, he's been exceeding my expectations with how well he's been this year. So, I mean, I still think, yeah, I think it's might be shifting into a two-headed race between Late Hudson and Celebrini. To be honest with you, Michkov is kind of, I
Nah,
think,
we
is more
bro.
of a, I think it's more of a result of him and John Tortorella not seeing eye to eye more than his play.
Let's bring Dustin Wolf into that conversation. Make it a
I forgot
three-headed
about him.
horse
Yeah, I
race.
mean, he's a goalie. Goalies never win shit.
Yeah,
They
they
have their own.
don't.
They have their own award.
They're pushed to the side. They have the Vezina Trophy, and that's it. They don't got the Calder. They don't got anything else. They have the Bill Masterson Trophy, but that's more like a tandem team accomplishment. So speaking of, we have the Vezina Trophy here. I think this was the award that we both whiffed on. I had Jacob Markstrom. You had Igor Shesterkin. This
Why
was
didn't either one of us pick Hellebuck?
because we're fucking idiots. I I want to go back and listen to um our entire explanation on why we
I
didn't
was
pick
curious
Hellebuck.
if to see if we didn't pick Hellebuck because of how bad he was in the playoffs last year, but that doesn't make sense to
You know
me.
what? I'm going back and I actually kind of want to check that real quick.
Yeah, because I feel like that would have had to been the case where we just didn't trust him or that Winnipeg team just because of their disappointing playoff performance last year. That could literally be the only reason why I would think neither one of us would have even thought about Hellebuck.
Let's see. Let's go to Vesna
Um,
here.
yeah.
I'm playing it
So,
right now.
the mostly
Hold
because
up.
last season he was a top 10 goalie analytically. I have a little bit of a scorching hot take.
So I said that Markstrom for you, Preston, because it was on the recording. I said that Markstrom was a top 10 goalie analytically. That's why I had him winning it,
So
and
I was
he's on
gonna
a
go
better
with how-
team.
a team
Then-
that at least
It's not a bad
is a
pick.
fine.
We're gonna
Honestly,
see
it wasn't
Sheldon.
bad. I mean, he's having a good season this year.
Yeah, and then let's
Keith won the
see.
Jack.
Wait,
You're
you
hot.
Outrageous.
said-
That's just
That some of that hate's a more realistic.
regular season.
Might
Like
be,
I was.
I think, a bet their trophy winning season
Let's
with
see.
year of his contract.
And he's a finalist and is competing with Hellebuck and Saros or just Sirkin, whatever. All right, Preston. Who do you have?
Here you
I'm
go.
gonna go with Igor Shesterkin.
Like
Might
it.
be
I was praying somebody would say him.
a bit of an obvious pick, but this is the last year of his contract. He
All right, so what your explanation was it's the last year of his contract. This was clearly before the extension, and you thought he was going to have a ridiculous contract year. You thought the Rangers were going to pick up right where they left it off, and he was going to win the Vezina Trophy. And I wonder if we mentioned anything about
amazing for
Hellebuck.
them. He
That's
probably
crazy
get
that
him
we wouldn't
sitting,
even mention
he-
his name.
Yeah.
I guess we must have just dismissed him because of the playoffs he had last year.
I think he'd be a Vezina candidate no matter what, but I think he has a little bit more to prove this year. To
I think that's a good pick. I don't hate it at all. It's really all I'm going to say.
Take because I don't have
he
this
was real
team
bad in the
necessarily.
playoffs last year.
What's up?
Yeah, he was real bad in the last 2 years in the playoffs. He's been brutal.
He hasn't been good. Either way, though, I think our picks. We didn't even mention Markstrom in there. I mean, not Markstrom. Hellebuck in there, which is kind of interesting. We're fucking idiots, dude.
Yeah.
We're idiots. And then our Stanley Cup picks.
Oh wait, you skipped Jack Adams.
Jack. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a forgettable award. Sorry, I don't mean to hurt all the coach advocates out there. I ended up going with Utah's head coach, Andre Turgeon, and then Preston went with Sheldon Keefe.
That was a bit
Dude,
of a hot pick there.
I wasn't high in terms of Utah getting into the playoffs, but I thought this team was going to be so much better, and I thought if they would be sniffing a playoff spot, like within
That's
a
not
point
how
or
that
two.
works, though. They'd have to make the playoffs.
I still think that I still think that Andre Turgeon having them go from one of the worst teams in the league, having a few additions with Sergachev and making all those moves and signings with Smith as their new owner, I thought that he would be the Jack Adams finalist.
I went with a little bit more of a serious pick in Sheldon Keefe in New Jersey. I'm not sure he's still in that conversation. They've been kind of up and down the last few weeks. Obviously that injury to Jacob Markstrom doesn't help things. But I don't see any way right now. It's not either Winnipeg's coach or Washington's coach that wins Coach of the Year. I don't see any way. Neither one of them are finalists, or I think one of those two are winning. Is it Spencer Carberry and who's? I don't even know who the Jets coach is.
Is Scott Arniel? Is it?
I'm not
Yeah,
sure.
yeah, I think it's Scott Arniel. I'm gonna double check that unless you're already on it, but I
I'm
believe
on their
it's
website. Give me 1 second.
okay.
It's loading.
Go for it.
This is website taking so low.
Fucking so real. Yeah, I think it's Scott Arniel. Arniel, excuse me.
How the fuck is in their coaching staff on here? It's just all the fucking people that run the business.
Yeah, it is Scott Arniel. Okay.
Okay.
Bang! I fucking know puck. Just kidding. I get told I don't know puck all the time by a bunch of user 053692s on TikTok. So.
Bots.
one of those two is winning Coach of the Year.
Oh yeah, by far. I would go Scott Arniel mainly because of the ridiculous season that they're having, but you could go Carberry because they don't have as much of a strong roster and they're keeping pace with Winnipeg, which is nuts to me.
Winnipeg, I picked them both as wild card teams. What season do you think has been more surprising to you, Winnipeg's or Washington's?
Okay, I think Washington's by far. I thought they were
Okay.
going to be a wild card team. I knew Winnipeg was going to be top 2 in the division, and I didn't think that Washington was going to be competing with Winnipeg and just have them two teams be the President's Trophy.
Well, neither one of us had the Jets making the playoffs.
I had the Jets making the playoffs, didn't I?
No, I'm looking at our standings predictions. We had neither one of them as a playoff
Yeah,
team.
I had them second.
I'm looking at the Central Division.
I'm looking at
right
the
now.
Central Division. I have second. I have Dallas, Winnipeg,
I'm
Colorado.
looking. I think I might be working at the ones from last year. Where are these?
Do you want me to send them to you?
Yeah,
I have them on my phone right now. You were looking at last year's this entire time?
It's from 1/27/24.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, this is all because there's fucking Chris on it too.
All right,
yeah,
there you go. I sent them for you. Yeah, I okay, yeah.
Oh, so I was looking at our conversation. I was in the wrong chat. My bad.
You're good. You're good. It happens to the best of us. Oh man.
Okay, my BS. So you did have them in the top two. I had them in the
Yes.
wild card spot.
Yes. So we still had them in the playoffs. We weren't that ridiculous and didn't have them miss. Let's do our cup picks now. I had the
Okay.
Devils versus the Stars. I had the Stars winning the cup, and then you had the Oilers versus the Rangers, and the Oilers winning the cup. How do you feel about yours? A little
I
iffy?
mean, I don't think my Oilers pick is that bad, honestly. I don't
No,
think,
it's not.
the West is kind of a slog house right now. I mean, they're gonna have to play Vegas if they want to get to the Cup final, and then to get out of the Western Conference final, you're probably gonna have to play Winnipeg or Dallas. So that's a tough bracket to go through.
Yeah.
They did it last year though. Who'd they play in the first round last year?
Edmonton?
LA. Yeah, it was
LA.
LA. Yeah, and then they played
They went LA. They went
Vancouver and then Dallas.
Yes.
So I mean, this year I think would be a little tougher, for sure. But Rangers, I mean, I completely missed on them. I think we all completely missed on them. I think going into the season, everyone thought, yeah, they're a playoff lock, and yeah, they might not make. They legitimately might not make the playoffs. They have a better chance of not making it than making it. So
They're looking iffy.
I completely whiffed on the Rangers part of it. I thought they were going to be better. That's on me. I mean, are you still as high on the Devils as you were going into the season?
Yes, I'm so high on them. I'm riding with them all the way until the building drops. But I'm so confident in just the Stars winning the cup in general. I'm not.
Western Conference are going to be tough, man.
Dude. I'm aware it's tough, but I think Dallas, like we talked about it a couple episodes ago, Dallas just has what it takes to. And I know I
No, they're
said
built
that
for the
last year
playoffs.
too.
I do agree with you. I'm not dismissing the pick at all. Yeah, I mean the key differences I see though in the West and the East though is like the West has a lot of mid. Like you have a couple like stud teams like the Panthers and the Maple Leafs and the Capitals and such. But then in the West you have like four, I would say, elite teams, and then a bunch of mid.
Yeah, that feels like how it is, and like you explained it perfectly. I think the West in the playoffs is going to be more competitive than the East, especially in the early rounds.
I think the first round might be a little bit of a snooze fest in the Western Conference
Really?
playoffs. Well, if the standings hold up, because I think because Winnipeg will be playing Vancouver, Edmonton, Colorado will be an interesting series just because of Nathan McKinnon. But and then Vegas, LA, I think Vegas kills them. And then Dallas, Minnesota, I think Dallas would take care of business in Minnesota in 5 or 6 games. I don't think it would be super tight of a series. But then in the second round, you'd have matchups like Winnipeg, Dallas, Edmonton, Vegas. That would be crazy.
I think that's what we'd all hope for, to be honest with you.
That's what I would expect. I think
those
those are the 4 best teams in the Western Conference. So
those are 2 insane matchups right there. I would die for that. I would die for that. That'd be so sick. So, I know we talked a little bit about our standings. This is probably going to take up half of the episode talking about our standings. Where do you want to start with?
Let's just do. We can just go in order of the pictures. Let's start with the Central Division.
All right, shoot it out.
So, I'll read my picks, and Zach, you can read yours. So my Central Division standings were as follows: I had Dallas winning the division, Colorado second, Nashville third, Winnipeg fourth as a wild card team. Then I had Minnesota, St. Louis, Utah, and Chicago all missing the playoffs in that particular order.
And then for me, top to bottom, we have Dallas finishing first, Winnipeg second, Colorado third, Nashville fourth as a wild card team, Minnesota fifth as a wild card team, Utah sixth, St. Louis seventh, and Chicago eighth. I felt like outside of Nashville, we didn't do too bad.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really give too much thought to Minnesota making the playoffs. Yeah, we both missed hard on Nashville. I mean, Mug, one of the other guys we did our predictions with, he had him winning the division, which is insane now. I mean, he was drinking all the juice
Kool-Aid.
for the Predators. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't think this is that bad.
It's not.
Obviously, neither one of us thought Winnipeg was going to have the year they had. I think Dallas, going into the season, was a fine pick to win the division. Colorado, interesting team. I'll say that. And then Minnesota, I think, has been a lot better than anybody thought they'd be this year.
Yeah, it really does feel like the Central Division was kind of like predictable outside of, like you said, Nashville. You knew Dallas, Winnipeg were going to be the top two teams, and I thought Colorado was for sure going to be that third team no matter
They still
what.
could be the third team. I mean, there were 2
No,
points
they
out
will
behind
be.
Minnesota.
They will
Yeah.
be the third team. I don't think Minnesota's going to stay in that third spot without Kaprizov much longer, especially the tear that Colorado has been on since getting Natchez and
Oh,
Jack
Sweden
Drury.
scored. I don't
Is
know who
it,
scored.
is it 2-1 then?
Yeah, it looks like Sweden's having a much better period.
All right, they made first period adjustments. They're coming out swinging here in the second period.
Yeah, I have no idea who scored. I just saw it's
Who
2-1.
knows?
And the shots are 11-10. Canada does not have a shot in the second period so far.
Okay, Sweden made some adjustments.
Yeah. Anyway, why don't we move on? Let's just do Western Conference. It's
Yeah, that
way
works.
easier. So I had I don't think our picks are too crazy. I was a little low on Vegas, but I had Edmonton winning the division, Vancouver coming in second, the Kings in third, because that just seems to be where they finish every fucking year.
Yeah.
And then Vegas fourth as a wild card team. And then I had Seattle, Calgary, Anaheim, and San Jose missing the playoffs in that order.
You guys are going to fucking love mine. Whew. Oilers first, Vegas second, nothing too crazy. Vancouver third or whatever, like it is what it is. LA fourth, Seattle fifth, wait for it. Anaheim sixth, San Jose seventh, Calgary Flames eighth.
Yeah, I still don't. I all offseason I was questioning your hatred for the Calgary Flames. I did not understand where it was coming from, and they're in a playoff battle right now with the Canucks for that last wild card
they're
spot.
what, 3 points out?
Yeah, I mean Vancouver has been playing better since they traded JT Miller.
Coincidence? I think fucking not.
Yeah, I think just to have that, I think just to have that drama out of the room has made a big difference. But I don't know why I was so low in Vegas going into the year. I don't know if it was me either being higher in Vancouver, just like I thought the Kings were gonna keep getting better. I mean, Kings have kind of been stagnant. They make the playoffs every year, but they never make it out of the first round. And they might. I hope they don't have to play Edmonton again because I don't want to watch that series again. And I'm sure the Kings don't want to play the Oilers again.
This would be the best LA team that went up against Edmonton, though. I'm just saying, could happen.
Well, they play like in the first round, like the last 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah,
went. And I think it went 7, 6, and 5.
Yep.
So Edmonton got better against them every time.
So you know what happens? LA in 4 this season. Just kidding, guys. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I mean, so I might end up getting all four of the playoff teams right from the Pacific Division, just not the order, because I think Vancouver does have a leg up on Calgary to get that wild card spot. Interesting, you didn't have the Kings even sniffing a playoff spot though.
I don't want to say I didn't have them sniffing a playoff spot, but I just thought that maybe they would take a step back. I was actually surprisingly low on LA going into the season compared to some other teams outside of Calgary. Like I just looked at LA and I was like, I don't know if they would have been able to get it done. Obviously, they have been really good this season, and that's somebody who I love Quentin Byfield, I love Kempe, I love that team. I don't know why I didn't have them in the playoffs. And if there
Quentin
was one
Byfield
thing,
has not been good enough this year.
You're correct. If there was one thing that I would go back with the Western Conference, outside of putting Calgary in like 5th place in the Pacific Division, is putting LA at least in the wild card spot over Nashville. But again, I thought Nashville was just going to be an overall better team. I didn't think they would be this bad, or this bad as in like lottery pick, top 5 overall pick. So it is what it is. You just take your losses and move on.
So let's move on then to the Atlantic Division. So I had the Panthers winning the division, Toronto in 2nd, Boston in 3rd, Tampa Bay in 4th as a wild card team, and then I had Detroit 5th, Buffalo 6th, Ottawa 7th, and Montreal 8th. This Atlantic Division kind of got flipped on its head. Outside of Florida and Toronto, I feel like Ottawa is probably going to be a playoff team. I mean, they're in a battle with Detroit. Detroit looked dead going into like the new year, and then they went on a crazy streak to save their season. Boston is still in that conversation. Even Montreal is in the conversation. The only team that's really out of it right now are the Sabres. I didn't think they were going to be that bad this year. I thought the wild card race was going to be very close in the East in general, specifically Atlantic. Because just looking at these standings, like I'll break it down to you a little bit. Like I thought Buffalo, Ottawa,
Detroit, and Tampa were kind of all going to be in a battle all year, and I just thought that the experience and talent that they have on the Tampa team would propel them into that playoff spot. And I thought Jeremy Swayman would be better this year.
Going into my standings, starting off Boston finishing first in the Atlantic, second Toronto, third Florida, fourth Tampa in a wild card spot, fifth Ottawa, sixth Buffalo, seventh Detroit, eight is Montreal. Again, we both had Montreal 8. There was nothing too crazy going into the season. They've been playing great hockey most of the season.
I don't think it's as much as like we thought Montreal was going to be bad. It's just I don't think any of us thought the Sabres were going to be that bad.
I think we also came to an agreement that all 8 teams in the Atlantic Division could finish at 78 points or higher, and 7 of them would be at 82 points or higher. We didn't think Montreal was going to be that bad. We thought they were going to make improvements. We just thought every team in the Atlantic, including Buffalo going into the season, was actually going to be good. Which is
I mean, the wild card race is going to be really, really. I mean, the third spot in that division is going to be interesting. Tampa has a little bit of a cushion right now, but Ottawa, Detroit, and Boston are kind of all right on their heels. It's going to come down to the end of the year. I'm really curious to see what these teams do at the deadline. How many of them are going to be buyers, shoppers, and seller? Detroit, I still don't think they go into the buy. I think if they make the playoffs this year, Detroit fans are going to hate this, but I don't think the Yzer plan is getting there, and I honestly think like they could make the playoffs this year. They have a really good chance to make the playoffs this year. If they don't, I don't think it's the end of the world, and the Yzer plan will just continue. I think Detroit honestly is building something sustainable and something special long term. Just you're almost there. You're almost at the crossing line.
Now let's take us to the Metro Division. I went with New Jersey first, the Rangers second, Carolina third, Washington fourth in a wild card spot, the Islanders fifth, Penguins sixth, Philly seventh, and Columbus eighth. I thought that Columbus was not going to be good this season. That's why they've been playing great. Nobody did. You could have maybe put Philly eighth too, but Philly has not been great this season. Same with Pittsburgh has been okay. The Islanders, they went on a ridiculous run of winning 8 of 9 games in the middle of January going into February, so they're still in the thick of things. Washington, we knew they were going to be better. We knew they'd probably be a playoff team, but we didn't think they would be President's Trophy caliber. And then the top 3, Carolina, New York, and New Jersey, we both had those top 3 teams in our top 3 in the Metro Division. It was only in the matter of what order they be. I didn't think that New York would be this bad. Genuinely, I did not think the Rangers were going to be this bad.
Neither did I. I don't think anybody did.
No, so it is what it is. You move on with it.
Yeah, Columbus is a big shocker to me. They had every excuse in the world to not really have a good season. You know, you losing your brother, your teammate, arguably your best player, in a really tragic incident. Like they had everything going against them. You know, I give a lot of credit to Dean Evison and the coaching staff for getting ready to play that leadership group. I think Johnny Gaudreau has given them honestly a boost. I think they're playing for him, and I think that really because Columbus doesn't have a really super high end talented team, but they play really hard as a team. I honestly think they'd be in the top 3 if they had better goaltending. I think goaltending is their biggest issue. Merzlikins is not a good enough player, in my opinion, for them long term. They could sneak into the playoffs this year, but I think even if you don't make the playoffs, I think this season has to be like a really feel-good season for the Blue Jackets.
Yeah, I agree. You didn't say yours?
I thought I just said my standings. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Go ahead.
So I had the Rangers winning the division, New Jersey in second, Carolina third, Washington fourth wild card team, Pittsburgh fifth, Islanders sixth, Philly seventh, and Columbus eighth. So ours weren't really too different. Just switch up a couple of spots.
Honestly, outside, I like looking at them. We had the Devils and Rangers flipped in the first and second spot. We both had Carolina third, both Washington fourth. We had the Pittsburgh and Islanders flip-flopped 5 and 6, and then we both had Philly 7th, Columbus 8th. Our standings for them, I felt like the match was very predictable going into the season, where everybody, it felt like where they were going to finish, but the Metro Division, it's okay, I guess. I mean, it's so top-heavy. You have, like, Washington, New Jersey, even Carolina now, like, good, And then you have like that middle two teams between the Islanders and Columbus. And I guess you can throw the Rangers in there too, and then the bottom feeder teams.
I mean, the interesting thing about the Metro Division to me is, I mean, you have Carolina, who like is a cup contender. I mean, they don't make that trade for Mikko Rantanen unless they think they win a cup this year. New Jersey, I think, is going to be in that conversation for a while. Washington kind of retooled around Ovechkin. They're a lot better than people thought. And then you have the Islanders and Pittsburgh, who refuse to go all in on a rebuild, and they probably should. And I think Pittsburgh has more valid reasons than the Islanders for not wanting to go into a full rebuild, because the Pittsburgh still has Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and Erik Karlsson. And so when you have those guys, you can't commit to a rebuild. But the Islanders, I think they should be fully invested in a rebuild right now. This team is stuck in the middle. Like, yeah, they might make the playoffs. They might be a wild card team, but are they doing anything in the playoffs? No.
Nope. Nothing.
And this is where they've been since they had those back-to-back conference finals runs. It's okay, they make the playoffs. They might upset you in the first round, push a game series to 7, but outside of that, they're not really a threat. They're getting mid-round draft picks. They haven't really been hitting on them super spectacularly. I think it's just time to, reel it in and start rebuilding, because they are one of the more veteran teams in the league. They need to get younger and faster, desperately.
Where the Islanders and Penguins are two spots where you don't want to be, where you're not as good enough where you can win a playoff round, or maybe you're just below the playoff line, but also you're not super bad where you just become a top 3 to top 5 overall pick. You're just getting like the 14th overall pick, the 15th, 16th overall pick, being in that range year in and year out, and you're just not getting those high level draft picks unless the draft is for some reason absolutely loaded, but you're not getting...
the worst part about the Penguins is the last few years, they've been trading their first round picks away to try to prolong this window, and it hasn't really paid off for them. They gave up a first round pick for Erik Karlsson. Why? You don't need Erik Karlsson, but Sidney Crosby asked for him. They got him. They trade away sorry, someone messaged me. I was reading it. And I mean, I thought they did good on the Marcus Pettersson trade. They get a second first, which they should be doing. They should be selling players where they can. I think a first round pick is a very good value for Marcus Pettersson. It's the Rangers' first round pick too, so that should be a mid round pick.
Top 13 protected.
Yeah, I mean, it might fall into that top 13. We'll see. Where would they? So I think it would be in the top 13 right now. So that might fall back. It just pushes it back a year. But
yeah.
Still, you get a first round pick for a defenseman. They trade away one of their better prospects for a player in, what's his name? Rutger McGroarty. Yeah, he's a decent prospect, but I think Braden Yeager is a better long-term prospect. But they don't have the ability to be patient right now. They need young players that can step in, because they're cap strapped too. Because they have a lot of highly paid veterans. So Sidney Crosby took a team-friendly deal, but you're paying Erik Karlsson $10 million, Chris Letang 6.1, Malkin 6. Like, not horrible contracts for these. I mean, the Erik Karlsson contract's bad, but and Tristan Jarry contract's awful. I don't know what they do with that. I don't know if they buy him out or whatnot. You can't bury in the AHL because it's still going to be a cap hit on you. So, and I don't think they really save much money long term by just buying him out. So because they don't have the goaltending to be really super competitive either. They're Pittsburgh, I would say, is one of the worst spots in the league you can be, where you're not good enough to compete for a playoff spot, and you're not bad enough to get top 10 picks, top 5 picks.
That's going to end it for today's episode. If you guys enjoy all of our content, head over down to the description. Go follow us on Instagram, X, and TikTok, as well as if you guys are on Spotify and Apple, head over to all of those links, plus our YouTube, subscribe, and notification bell. We'll see you guys in our next episode.